Hello and welcome to the SNC podcast. I am your host, Folashade Anozie. Joining me on the show today is a Powerhouse media, business and entertainment lawyer, Angela Anukam. Angela is the legal manager at Canal, which comprises of Rock Studios Limited and Canal Advertising Nigeria Limited. Over the course of Angela's impressive career in the African broadcast media and content market, she has worked with various production and distribution partners locally and across Europe, Middle East, and African markets, negotiating rights acquisition and overseeing legal services for film projects. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, great. Now, when I reached out to you, you had mentioned that you are not really a fan of podcast. Wait. And I responded, but you finally agreed to come.
Yes, and because one of the podcast gods,
yes, exactly,
and the person of Shade promised that she was going to make it the most wholesome experience. And I mean, we've chatted for about 15 minutes prior, and I agree.
What is
comfortable?
What is the challenge that you have with podcasts? What is it about podcasts that make you kind of wary?
I think maybe because I come from a place where I like to be behind the scenes and I'm doing the work behind the scenes. And I think podcast is a bit too chatty, perhaps. That's how I look at it. And I said to myself, okay, am I really going to listen to myself, go on and on and on over a podcast? But I think that, it's an interesting... It's very interesting, the whole podcast. I'm still getting the hang of it, but maybe after this, who knows? I'll probably do many more.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, why not?
I've had a couple of people who have never been a fan of podcasts, and literally this was their first introduction, and they've gone on to do other things. So I hope so.
I mean, I hope so. I think I believe so. Because more importantly is who you are as a person. You've definitely made me feel as warm, welcome. I mean, yes, you've been very welcoming, and then you've opened me up. So yes, I'm enjoying the experience already.
I'm glad. Yeah. And I was going to say, and don't take this personally, when you reached out to me over the course of a couple of days, I was like, oh, I thought I was type A. Angela is definitely type A.
No way.
I was like, wow, I thought I was type A. It's good. It is good. You understand? I was like, wow, I never knew I could be this.
Well,
Shade, where is this? So thank you for putting me on my toes.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happens again is maybe it just comes from the lawyering thing.
Of course.
Where you have to make sure that your ducks are in a row.
Of course. So
and I'm an organizer. I like to have, my itinerary planned in such a way that I'm saying, okay, Shadi, are we still doing this? What am I expecting? Can you send this? You said you're going to send this at this time. And it just speaks to, how I also just run the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be punctual. I like to have things a certain way. So I hope I didn't put you
No,
off doing
of course.
that.
No, I told you that, my life has just been super hectic. Yes. So thank you for just putting me on my toes.
No.
But now we all have different reasons for becoming lawyers. Mm-hmm. What was your reason? What influenced your decision to become a lawyer?
Okay. So I'm going to tell a very funny story. Growing up, I really didn't have any influences as to, okay, this is why I want to become a lawyer. I think I made that decision in my junior secondary school. I think it was around my second year, the college year SS2. And then I had this senior student who I looked up to. She was more like a mentor because, again, this was the days of the Unity schools where it was federal government girls' college. And I looked up to her so much because she was very brilliant. She was outgoing. And I remember this was me. I think it was about 11, 10. We were having the conversation and she said, she was in SS2 and she was going on to SS3 and then subsequently, of course, to the university. And I just asked her, okay, so what are you planning to be? She said, she's training to be a lawyer. I said, really? Okay, I would like to be a lawyer too. And that was it.
Wow.
That was it. So I think it was that moment I knew I was going to be a lawyer, but I really didn't know, what my focus was going to be. I just knew, okay, first off, be a lawyer, and then second off, figure it out along the way. And that's what my journey has been.
Have you run into that person anytime?
Yes. I ran into her in, I think that was in 2020. Yes, I remember running into her at an event. That was pre-COVID. And I saw her and I was so happy. Yeah. The happiness was, I made it. I'm a lawyer. And guess what? She's not a lawyer.
I just said, I want to hear the end of this. I'm sure she's not going to be a lawyer.
No, she's not a lawyer. And then I'm the one who is, I'm a lawyer. I'm pushing this and this is not my focus. This is what I'm doing. But it was interesting to have someone to look up to in that context. Yeah. And yeah, eventually just begin my journey from somewhere.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you interned at 2 law firms before you went
Yes.
in-house.
Yeah.
What was it about the law firm experience that made you say, it's been real. Peace out. I'm going in-house.
My dear, my journey, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I think before I get to that question, I think it would be nice to provide some context. So I remember finishing, I went to Madonna University, private university in Anambra State. I graduated in 2011. And of course, the idea was naturally to progress to law firm. Unfortunately, we had a backlog of, students who couldn't get into law school, and I was just affected. So in that time, I took up the internship at a law firm. It was a law firm where, this is going to shock a lot of people, but that was my very first, job experience. And it was the very first time I got paid some amount of money at the end of a month. And guess what? I was paid 5,000 naira. Yes. But it just speaks to what I wanted to do. I didn't even mind because I saw that as, okay, yeah, let it just be a reward for labor. Do you understand? But it wasn't going to do anything. 5,000 naira was barely going to take me from point A to point B at that time. But I was happy to do it because I really wanted to have that experience. I think a part of me knew I was not going to pursue the law firm thing for a very long time. So coming out of uni, I basically went straight into the law firm. I finished uni in August. And then by October, I started the law firm job. I was there until March, so give or take 5 months. It was NYSC. And believe it or not, I taught at secondary school. Yeah, I taught in a secondary school class.
What was that experience like? Sorry.
Oh, very, again, interesting. When I speak about my journey has taken me through, it's been different routes. You know, it's been up, down, highs, lows, but essentially, I always knew that I needed to do something and I needed to, eventually find focus. And I did, came out from there, NYSC, 1 year, came back. I said, okay, I was ready to go to law school. And of course, I still had 6 months to go. So I said, okay, instead of just laying about, get another job. And yes, I got into the law firm of Olajide Oyewole, now DLA Piper Africa. Mm-hmm. I was there for 6 months. And that experience was very wholesome. And to be fair, Shadi, that was all the experience I needed in the law firm. I was certain that I was going to come back, but that law firm sort of cemented what my focus was going to be as a lawyer. I knew that litigation did not interest me so much. Going to court was just too boring. Corporate commercial, fantastic. You make a lot of money, but was it really interesting to me? Nah. Oil and gas. Oil and gas was all the rave. Everybody wanted to be an oil and gas lawyer. And this was me just setting my own way to say, I want to be an IP lawyer. I didn't even know the trajectory that Nigeria was going to. I just knew that IP as, an area of law was something that was going to, take off. And when it takes off, it's not going to stop.
Did you get that exposure at Olajide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think, like I said, Olajide was the solidifying moment. But prior to that, I started to develop interest in IP law in my final year. Okay. That was my 5th year at the university. I think, yes, that was where I really started to develop my love for IP. Yes, my love for IP. And then now going to Olajide Oyewole and really seeing it play out. I remember working with Mrs. Oyewole and her team. And, they handled, the estate of Fela, and just being there, I just said, okay, this is it for me. I don't want to do litigation. I'm very happy to do my... And then another thing I think is also important to say this. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but being a lawyer was hard work. At some point, I was going to drop out and move to mass comm. I wanted to switch courses and say, okay, I'm going to mass communication. It's the easiest thing to do. But I thought about it. I said, okay, you definitely love the arts and you love being a lawyer. So how about you marry both of them? And I think really that was the birth of my love. And then final year in school, moving to DLA Piper Africa, and then eventually getting called to the Nigerian bar. And the first job I land is as a personal assistant.
Why didn't you go back to DLA Piper? Olajide Oyewole?
So yeah, that's a very good question, and the natural question to follow. I was going to go back in, I remember just after my law school results were out, I reached out to the human resources partner at the time, and I mentioned, or rather indicated my interest to go back and say, okay, see, I know you guys, you're like family to me, and I'd really love to come back and continue from where I stopped, even if it was 1 full year, but I'm happy to come back. And I mean, she texted and, okay, congratulations. Of course, we're happy to have you. So after your call to bar, come in for a chat. I mean, fantastic stuff. And call to bar, I go back to Lagos so excited. She set up a meeting. And then she tells me, okay, you have to do some tests. I'm saying, okay. I mean, not bad. I thought I was going to get a free pass because I had intent there.
So
I had shown capacity. So I think there was the assumption I was just going to go in. So when they said, oh, you're going to have an exam, I mean, why not? And when a law firm is that, I mean, they have a standard, you have to respect that. So yeah, I went in for the test, met with some of the partners, and they now automatically told me that I was likely going to be drafted into the litigation department. I said, oh, Shade.
Angela said, error.
Shade, that felt, I think I was
gut-wrenching.
But I was anxious because, when you come out of school, the job market is not friendly. All you want to do is get a job that pays. So even knowing I didn't want to do litigation, I was happy to take it up. And then I remember it was December, I wrote the test, and I really was looking forward to feedback in 2 to 3 weeks, which is standard. I mean, in that space of time, I couldn't sit around because also I'm a very restless person. I have so much restless energy, and if I'm not putting my energy to use, I just feel, off. Then I started to job hunt, and I got a job. And I was very specifically looking for roles within media houses. The year was 2015. We didn't have a lot of, there were the media houses, but they were not as, I think I would use the word developed. They probably knew, the business was just coming up in Nigeria and people were just starting to take interest at that time. And then I got this job at Optima Media Group. Now, Optima Media Group is, they are the franchise holders of the Nigerian Idol. Yeah, so the American Idol. Yes, the Nigerian version of it. I got the job as personal assistant to the director of corporate services. And I wanted to use the opportunity to just really go in and then essentially see what the work was going to look like and just see how to, of course, apply myself, not just as a personal assistant, but as a lawyer. And I remember cozying up to the lawyer. It was they had just one lawyer. So, of course, I was happy to, understudy and say, oh, I'm available. I will apply myself. I need to learn the business. And that was it for me. Because even to be a lawyer, to, be a business partner to the business, you have to understand the business. And let me tell you the twist that happened. I went for Ebony Live interview in June. And the next day, I was getting the offer from Mo because I was now going to be her executive assistant, but my legal background was, key for her. The day I was getting the offer from Ebony Life was the same day the law firm called me.
Wow.
Yes. Interesting. Plot twist. So I would never even have predicted that.
Yeah.
So, they called me and I was torn. Choices. I was just a few months ago, I was looking for a job.
Exactly.
And then I have 2 offers. And I remember the HR telling me that, okay, we're ready to have you come in to work with us, but you're going to be, of course, drafted into the litigation department. This is going to be your reporting line. You're going to be reporting to this partner. I said, this is very interesting. And then I was getting the offer from Mo. I said, okay, being a lawyer, being an executive assistant, law firm with no path to IP, and then media. Of course, I chose the media. Of course. I remember that my dad was, of course, your parents, they've invested in you. My father could not understand me. he kept asking me what is going on. But before I made that decision, I reached out to two of my friends, of course, my older colleagues in the practice. I remember speaking to them because, sometimes before you take certain decisions, especially regarding your career, you need to really understand where it is you see yourself, where you think you're going to be in, say, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And for a fact, I knew that law firm was going to be a tie down for me, in the sense that if I picked up the role in litigation, I would not be able to make the transition to IP. It's not that easy to do that. So, and I was asking myself, would I be frustrated in this role? How is this going to really help me get to being the media lawyer I always thought I was going to be? So when I spoke to, two of my older colleagues, and just, there was a brainstorming, and they just said, you know what? You have to make the decision. Nobody's going to make it for you. Just think of where your life is going to be in 5 years and decide. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I decided, and I went with Ebony Life Media.
Yeah.
And I would say that was really where my journey started. Yes, because from Ebony Life Media, of course, I moved to Sound City, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
Canal.
Exactly. I'm talking with you. So thank you for sharing that insightful story. I think it just really highlights the importance of, like you said, at what moment you're looking for an opportunity, and then you now have double the opportunity, and you now have to make a decision that you feel is best for the path or the career that you want to chart,
Yes.
So again, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you've been in the broadcast media and content market for over 8 years.
Yes.
And I want to ask, as a female lawyer, what are some things that you're shocked like maybe 2 or 3 things, maybe 2, that you're shocked that you're still having to deal with or address?
And this is 2023.
2023.
Let me see. I think that, good question again. And I will start by saying that currently it's a more liberal space compared to what it used to be like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I think one of the challenges I really had to deal with was some of those, condescending attitudes I got in the beginning, where everybody's looking at me and saying, obviously she didn't get this job on her merit. Yes, I got that. And again, when you're quote unquote light-skinned,
light-skinned.
At some point I had to go to God. I said, God, is it a crime
to be light-skinned?
And then, oh yes, she's an attractive female. There's no way she got this job on her own merit. She had to have put out for 1 or 2 persons. And that perception was something that troubled me so much. I made up my mind that come hell or high water, the only thing I want to be able to defend is my position, and the fact that I merited my position and I'm meant to be here, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. And with that in mind, I've just, forged through. And even when, these guys come, I'm like, okay, what do you have to say? Seen it, been there, done that. Can we move on?
I love that.
Yes, been there, done that. Can we move on? Oh, yes. See, don't worry. You can take it to the bank. In fact, I like to think that I want to leave a legacy that speaks to consistency, and such that if you go back in time to my story and my journey, you can pick 1 or 2 persons that will tell you, oh, Angela, oh no, she's the most consistent, the most brilliant. And it's not a narrative of, oh, she had to put out to get there, but she's actually working her way. And I think that's the legacy I want to have. I want my story to be that one of owning space, staying consistent in your journey, in your hustle, whatever it is, but knowing that at the end of the day, you're doing it for you, yourself, and yourself alone.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's amazing because I think there's so many gems there, particularly for women.
Yes.
That society makes us feel like we should always shrink ourselves.
Oh,
we shouldn't take up too much. I don't want to be too noticed.
Yes.
Right? Even for me, like there's certain things that my former boss would say, Shade, this is you, shake it up, So I really love that, you just really highlighted the importance of owning your space. Don't let anybody tell you that you're doing too much, you're being too loud,
just to, add to what you've said, you're in an industry that is loud.
So you can't afford that to be like.
So
yeah.
you cannot afford to shrink.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with people across different spheres. You don't even know where these people are coming from. You're dealing with the people in the business, you're dealing with external stakeholders, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with partners. So if you really don't own it, then I bet your transactions are going to be worth zero.
Yeah.
Because again, bottom line is profit and revenue as a business. And of course, this is me now speaking from an in-house perspective, because going in-house definitely opens you up to what business is like, and the fact that if you do not own space, you will definitely not be an asset to your business.
Yeah. Amazing. I love
Yeah.
Angela. I love it. Now, as a legal manager at Canal Plus,
Yes, please.
yeah, which is obviously Rock Studios Limited and
Yes.
Canal Plus Advertising Nigeria Limited.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your work? Because you're dealing with legal agreements, financing agreements, so many different things. But what would you say is the most challenging aspect of what you do?
Very interesting question, Shadi. Thank you. Very interesting question. So before I answer that question, I probably have to dissect, what my day-to-day might be like, and just some of the challenges. And of course, first off, my role is an in-house counsel, right? Business affairs, legal manager, fantastic. So I came across this phrase that says being a legal manager or being an in-house counsel is like being a jack of all trades. Because essentially you're a jack of all trades to the business. So now, going back to the question you've asked me about what are the challenges I would experience, the truth is just the challenges come when you don't even expect them. It's not, okay, I'm expecting this challenge, right? So some of the things that would even happen are things that would be out of the box. So for instance, let's say, let me even leave the, transactional side of business, the let's say working on the business function units, for instance, finance, HR, IT, and then someone just calls me and says, oh, so we have a problem, we are delivered a product to somewhere in Ghana, or we can't get it, we need you to get involved. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, how exactly, what am I supposed, so there are just some of these questions, because the first thing you're thinking of is where do you even start from? Because if it's content drafting, I already have my templates. All I need to do is make my edits, right? If it's, we have this financing agreement, because what we do essentially is we're a studio, Rock Studios, right? So we do a lot of movie financing, film financing projects. We commission a lot of producers. So in any given year, our outputs, so maybe I can explain what output means. Yeah. So when you have an output deal, it just means the number of movies you're supposed to have commissioned or financed in any given year. And it can be across different genres, whether it's epic, whether it's drama, whether it's, thriller, whatever it is, yes, comedy. So we have all those deals, coming through. So in any given year, output deal can be like maybe 200. It can be more. It really depends on what we're doing. And then, of course, we now have the different other elements of the business that has to do with acquisition, which is buying movies, and then distribution, which is now distributing our own catalog. So in all of those, in all of these elements, there are different challenges that come up. So let me give an instance now. So someone reaches out to us and is trying to commission us to, trying to commission us for an animation project, because I would also point out that we have an animation team internally, yes.
Good plug.
Yeah. Yes, we have an internal animation team, and then, commissioning us for that. Just when I thought, okay, I've seen some of the clauses I can see in my life, and then there are some clauses that present themselves where we have to sit down and debate territories, and not just territories, we are debating dispute resolution terms like governing laws. So I'm a French company, this is an American company, and you're insisting that it must be American arbitration rules that govern. And I know that American arbitration rules would not be as flexible, especially for external entities, you understand, foreign entities. And in that situation, which presents a challenge, of course, I have to now make an effort to sit down with the other counsel, because it cannot be emails flying back and forth all the time. It should be conversations for you to understand where I'm coming from as a business. And I mean, what I would now propose in that situation is to say, you know what, this is a challenge for both of us. You would not accept my own terms of, okay, it has to be French laws. I cannot accept your own terms of American laws. How about we go somewhere in the middle? Yes, and let's have a compromise. And the compromise is good for businesses. And I mean, if I'm now suggesting, I would say, okay, let's go with, say, a London Court of International Arbitration, which is just in the middle, and we can meet somewhere. And, you know, what you want to do when you have these challenges is ensure that you can get past them quickly enough to continue to run your business.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like that. That's really insightful.
Yeah.
Particularly from, like you said, it changes, always changing.
Yeah,
but
it's always changing.
I love the specificity of the example, because that's what I really would like to hear. Now, you also deal with talent agreements, right?
Oh yes.
Now, oh yes.
Oh yes.
Now, from a deal-making perspective,
Yes.
and taking into consideration how the TV and film business is changing, what would you advise talent to be looking out, or to start looking out, maybe if they haven't, in their agreements, particularly when it comes to, like, you do content rights acquisition, right?
Oh yes.
Okay, maybe not content rights in the context of talent agreements, but let me just stick with talent agreements. What should talent be looking for when someone approaches them and says, we want to work with you, or want to give you this contract? What should they be paying attention to?
Okay, so again, interesting questions. You're really coming up with all these questions that I'm feeling myself just getting excited.
I'm a lawyer, but you're the lawyer.
Yes. Yeah, but you're a lawyer as well. But
Yeah.
again, being, of course, in the media space.
Yeah.
And of course, coming from someone who has a lot of passion for the business, it shines through.
Yeah.
And I'm always very animated when I talk about these things. So, as a talent, the first thing you want to understand is the project you're getting into. Number one, the scope of it. Because first of course, you have your agents reaching out to you to say, oh, there's an opening for so and so role, and we think you might be a good fit. We're trying to get you in. Fantastic stuff. So first of all is to understand what the project is, the scope of the project, and just also understand who the parties to the project might be, because again, that might influence you in making decisions regarding your pay, right? Yes, because some people are just desperate enough to want to take up roles, and they don't really ask these questions. So as an actor, you know, someone who would be featuring in a movie, for instance, you want to be able to identify what the project is. Again, you also want to know if it's a project that resonates with you, because some people really don't like to take up certain projects, and they would not say so until you've now, you know, cast them for that role and they come up with. So you want to be able to identify that it's a role that you can, you know, you probably want to try out for, right? Number two, you want to understand the reach. When I say the reach, again, it's more transactional, where you're a talent and you're bringing something to the table, and of course you're getting monetary value as compensation. So you want to know, okay, so this movie that is being produced, is this a cinema movie? You want to understand the rights that would come with the movie. Because what I would usually advise people or talents is to be able to, as much as possible, monetize your talent, right? When I say monetize your talent, just don't accept, okay, we are going to pay you a one-off sum of X, Y, Z. You need to be able to understand, how far is this movie going? What are the rights that would likely come with the movies, right? And in speaking about rights, of course, there are a lot of rights in film business. You're talking about cinematic rights. That's when the movie goes to the cinemas. You're talking about, you know, pay TV rights. When you have the movie now showcased on a pay TV platform, you have international distribution, where it's on other platforms outside, maybe Nigeria, Africa, depending on what the deal terms are, the producer, directors, and all of them. So you want to be able to negotiate from a place of strength, where I can say, okay, you know what, I want to take this X amount of money as pay, but in the event that the movie is distributed somewhere else, I want to be able to get maybe 5%, 10% of, you know, if it's 10% of net profits, 10% of net receipts, whatever it is, but ensure that you're able to have, you know, you're able to approach film production from a commercial perspective, because then it makes you very bankable as an, as a talent, as an actor, whatever you are. And really, my advice to talent normally is just ensure that you're dealing with, number one, you have your agent, number two, you have your lawyers, because it's really your lawyers that will sit down and, sign the fine lines. You don't really have a lot of time to read that. So as someone going into, or rather as a talent going into film production, just understand what you're selling. Understand, okay, so for instance, if it's a film production, you probably say, okay, are there going to be sequels to this movie? Do you want to have first option, second? Do you understand what I mean? Some of those terms you should be aware of. If it's a series, okay, after season 1, do you want to be considered for the second role? And then, of course, you're also trying to say, okay, I'm going to negotiate ahead. So, for instance, you're being paid, say, 300,000 naira per episode for the first season. By the second season, depending on how the first season, performs, you're able to negotiate from a place of strength to say, okay, I'd like to increase. But again, you can even do that before, like if it's a TV series, you can negotiate all those terms up to a certain level. So for instance, I'm saying, okay, I'm starting season 1 and we're going up to maybe season 6 of a TV series. It's always advisable that at least you negotiate the first 3 seasons first, because you don't want to also sell yourself short. It might explode. And by then, you've already tied yourself in. So you want to also be very, very mindful about some of those pitfalls.
Yeah, and I think to your point about negotiating on the back end when it comes to films, I think that's a challenge that a lot of actors are facing.
Yes.
I mean, look at the whole situation with Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow.
Yes.
How they, I think it was whoever it was that released it on streaming before was supposed to go. Some story about, I don't know if you heard about that.
I'm not sure I know the details of that.
Oh yeah, I know, I saw it in passing. It was a story about, I think it was between Scarlett Johansson and Disney. They had released Black Widow, and while it was still in theaters, they had released it on a streaming platform. On the streaming platform. Wow. So it was like a big issue. Because people are now, a lot of actors are saying that the benefits you could get with traditional films, you can't get that a lot with streaming.
Yes.
Because a lot of these platforms want to get all these rights.
Oh, yes.
And it's much harder to,
Say, when the film project is over, that's the end. So the only time you really have any negotiating power, and then I talk a lot about negotiation because it's very important for people to understand negotiating strategies. As a talent, you want to have someone who knows how to negotiate. See, as far as I will tell you from a lawyer's perspective, every movie that is being produced now, at some point in the future, will find its way on the streaming platform. And of course, our streaming platforms are the video on demand, VODs, and, subscription video on demands like the Netflixes, the Amazons, and just, and then of course the AVODs like the YouTubes. So you want to be able to foresee. And as talent, you really don't have I wouldn't say, you really might not think far ahead, so you need people that think far ahead. And with the evolving nature of entertainment business, we know these things will happen. So when I'm on the other side where I'm working with a talent, I tend to look out for these things because I don't want my talent. And of course, when my talent is making money, I'm making money as well. So of course, I want to make money for my talent so that I can get some money. So you need to be able to anticipate, and that's why they call you in there. Anticipate what are the likely issues that will come up. What are we not saying? And if there's something in the clause that says this is exclusively for cinemas, then you can afford to say, oh, are you sure? I mean, why don't we do X, Y, Z? Maybe it's like part cinema, part streaming. And, importantly is just to find ways to plug in and, get the movie out there, and at the same time, get some revenue coming to the business and to the talent.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you mentioned about the importance of negotiation. It's one of the reasons why I actually went to law school, because I used to manage an artist in Nigeria, and I just could foresee that the artist was going to get bigger. Yes. And you don't want to have a manager that does not know what she's talking. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Because you can't get upset with the person that says, "Oh, it's been real, gotta go."
Girl,
you empower yourself.
And
right?
In Nigeria, it's a very funny thing because we don't really have the laws that tie you down to a contract. 1 minute, somebody is feeling like, "Oh, I've arrived," but the truth is, you need a team. whatever business you're in, whether you're a woman business, whatever you are, if you have talent, if you have skill, if you just have God-given ability to produce something from scratch, then you're automatically a copyright holder, and then automatically you can market this, and you can sleep and wake up and you've become a superstar.
I'm glad that you brought up the Copyright Act, which is, I wouldn't say it's new Copyright Act. It's updated. It's the updated copyright.
That's very brutal to. That's brutal to Nigeria.
But it's not updated.
That's brutal to Nigeria.
Wait, but is it
new
new?
Now. We have to accept it's new.
Okay, fine.
We have to give ourselves some hope.
Let me rephrase.
Okay, so let me let you rephrase.
That's a great point you brought up. Let's talk about the new Copyright Act.
Yes.
I'm sure you've obviously gone through it. What are you most, I guess, excited about, happy about? And maybe you feel like I feel like there's always room for improvement, without a doubt, right? So if you talk about that, just briefly.
Very, very briefly, because, of course, I was joking with you the first time around. It is updated. I was messing with you the first time around. No. It is updated. So what I did was just look for a breakdown of, okay, what are the new additions, right? We knew that it was not an entire overhaul. Some of the sections of the old act were retained, and then this one is just, okay, let's introduce certain things that cater to businesses as they currently are. I think what is most impressive with the Copyright Act, the current, Copyright Act of 2023, is just the inclusion of the online space, right? The prior act never really addressed online, because that was 1988, 1992, 1999. This all predated the explosion of the digital age. Now, what this new act has done is just updates the provisions to ensure that copyright in the digital space is more protected, and then there are certain frameworks that they've just established per the act. I think one of them is just they've imposed more liabilities, right? So before, it used to be something of, okay, you can pay 10,000 naira or less, or imprisonment for 6 months or less, but now the liabilities are way more, and I think it just will serve as a deterrent to anyone who wants to now infringe, to know that, okay, it's no longer business as usual. You think, okay, I can pay 10,000 naira and get away with it. Now you probably be paying like 500,000 to 1 million naira. It will make you think twice before you become liable for copyright infringement. Another thing that the act has done is basically put more responsibility on the internet service providers, the ISPs, right, to ensure that they also are responsible for taking down infringing materials on their sites. So if you notice, what used to happen was you just see an infringing material, and unlike YouTube, YouTube is highly regulated. You cannot put anything on YouTube. They will flag it down because they have systems that are implemented and work. Now you go to a Nigerian site, you will see your content. You will see your content, but there is no space, there is no column for you to issue a takedown notice or even lodge a formal complaint. There is no provision for that, and even when you now track down the owners of the domain name, for instance, or the ISPs, they'll tell you, oh, I don't know, it's not me. We are just a website. Whoever puts it is their business. But to now know that you can actually go after them, it offers some comfort. So for us in the film industry, especially, all these issues of piracy, where we tell the website, oh, okay, our movie is on your website, can you assist us? And somebody is telling you, it's not my business. Now it becomes your business. And if you decide not to do the right thing and take it down, I can now afford to take you to court, or, whatever other legal, measures, yes, I can enforce. But what is important is to know that I now have the backing of the Copyright Act. For me, that's one of the most important elements of it. And of course, the whole thing about, of course, giving more power to the Nigerian Copyright Commission, administration, enforcement, fantastic. So I think it's just to really sit back and see how, implementation comes in, and eventually enforcement of the rights, because Nigeria, again, So we want to have hope with, where the sector is, because there's been growth, like measurable growth and progress. So we have to have hope and faith that this Copyright Act is really going to ensure compliance and just ensure that people sit up and take notice of the fact that it's no longer business as usual. And then hopefully the people who are also, put in there to enforce these rules actually, carry through, and the judiciary also takes note, and, we have case laws eventually that are more current and more in trend.
Yeah. Even YouTube is struggling. They still have content that it's hard for them to pay attention to, but to just have a complete hands-off situation is where...
No, it's hard to find on YouTube. I mean, it might take some time because, like you said, YouTube, I mean, it's millions of content. Everybody's putting content. But the thing again is, if you have an internal... So most businesses have an internal content protection team that essentially responsible for flagging content on YouTube. So those are the people you actually need to have on your team, because yes, YouTube can take some time to get back, but they eventually do. However, if you want quicker turnaround in terms of, I've lodged a complaint, I need this, you have a team that actually is on ground to monitor this. So at Canal, for instance, we have the guys, content protection team, and the only thing they do is basically look out for content. Yes, so it's a large team because content is our business, and we are just not in Nigeria. Of course, we are in about two. Yeah, Nigeria is the first Anglophone, business, and then there's Ghana. Then of course you have about I think 5 to 6 other French-speaking countries, Ivory Coast, Senegal, and the likes, and of course you have the entire European market. So it's essential for the business to have a team internally.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, as we begin to wrap it up, you had mentioned about hope, about having hope, right? Where do you see the African broadcast media and content market in the next couple of years? Maybe, I don't know if you want to address it from a regulatory perspective, since, the legal aspect.
So, again, a very interesting question. I like these questions.
I did my homework.
No, you did. I'm
here,
very excited. You did, because if the questions were not giving me life,
it would be like,
yes, Shadi, what's going on? But interesting question.
Thank you.
I think it's that the answer to that would be two-pronged. When I say, okay, where do we say it to? So maybe speaking from a regulatory, there's some words
that I cannot, there's some words that I struggle. It's fine.
Oh my
regulatory,
God.
don't worry.
Yes, regulatory, perspective. I would say that it's going to be a tough road, and I say that because I know how many years it's taken to even implement what is now the Copyright Act of 2023. And the honest truth is, it doesn't even address up to 75% of what the market is from a global perspective. So if you're looking at what the global market is, and the fact that Nigeria now has entertainment as a main export. So my hope really is that our leaders start to, they sit up and start to take notice. And in addition to the Copyright Act, we can have, maybe some other secondary, because of course the Copyright Act is the primary legislation. We have other secondary legislation that addresses like different aspects of the entertainment business. Because yes, copyright affects all aspects, but there are also different aspects. Like for instance, you have the trademark, for instance. The focus is copyright. How about the trademark laws? Do you understand what I mean? How about patents? What are we doing? How are we addressing this? So I really believe that there should be secondary legislation to back up what is already the primary legislation in driving, some level of legislative or legislation that caters to the creative sector and ensures compliance for businesses. Again, that is me expressing hope. And I foresee it will happen, but looking at how it's taking us to get here, I'm hoping that we coming up, maybe we would also do our bit to ensure we get there. Then from the business perspective of where I see the the question was the creative sector.
Yeah, the broadcast media,
the broadcast
and
media content market. Explosive. That's the word I would use for it. Explosive. And explosive in the sense that where we are now, I saw it coming. My entire journey to getting here was, I knew this was going to happen. Because when I was starting up, I remember just listening to the likes of DJ Jimmy Jat, Sound Sultan, Two-Face Idibia. And the one thing that stood out to me was, like it or not, people listen to music. People watch televisions. People like to go to the cinemas. These are things that would never go out of fashion. So this is definitely a space to be in. And just seeing where we were in 2005 and seeing where we are 18 years later is a testament to the fact that we are just getting started. And I reckon that in another 10 years, give or take, it's going to be double what we have. Because, currently, the creative sector is has the highest GDP and providing revenue for Nigeria, right? Just like I mentioned before as well, we have, we're exporting so much of our creative sector. There's so much export going on. Burna Boy, Thames, Davido. Yes, you'd literally go to an airport now and you can dance. So that's why I said some people don't even see it. I think for me too, I don't even understand why people don't see it. But yes, explosive is the word I would use for it. And well, maybe in 10 years, we'll revisit this conversation and see if my predictions...
No, okay, I know. It's only... Like the writing is on the wall, or has been on the wall for quite a long time. It's just now taking shape, you know. So people that have that long-term vision, it seems like they can see it exactly,
and they're ready to just key into it
exactly.
And I think it's also important because what has also happened is that with the development where we are now in the creative sector, you now have that there are now a lot of professionals also now taking interest. So, in my time, it used to be IP law, but now it's media entertainment law. It's entertainment business. You now find that a lot of young people just want to now be invested in this space because it is the future. It's the future currency of where we're going at. I'm thankful to have seen it and had the vision, and also importantly, align myself to, few of my colleagues who are more or less like seniors to me. I basically have a mentor who is also, she's one of the IP leaders in Nigeria, Mrs. Uwa Uhiku. She used to be she still even is a partner at Jackson Itiani Do.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, she's a 409 IP lawyer. I remember when I started out, she was one of the people I looked up to. And I followed her everywhere. I followed every single thing she was doing. And I'm happy to say we have that relationship now. She's like my second mom. Yeah. So it's good to see people take interest. And I'm hoping that our institutions catch up. When I say institutions, schools catch up and start to offer some curriculum that is focused ultimately on the creative space and media and entertainment business.
Yeah. Very necessary, and I hope that everything that you said comes to fruition and it will.
Yes.
It
because
may take time.
If we don't have a framework, it will collapse. Yes, it's like a house that if you don't have a structure, it's going to collapse. I remember when we started off, it was me and the likes of Fuza. Of course, everybody knows Fuza. It's me and the likes of Fuza. I remember we used to pursue COSON then. COSON used to be Collective Society of Nigeria. Yeah, one of the foremost collective management organizations in Nigeria. I remember we used to go to we went to their office once to have like a roundtable forum. Sit there. Shade, you're laughing. I know you're looking to say, see, my dear, the journey has been.
Well, how has that process, have the stories changed from when you and Foza used to go?
Unfortunately not.
Wow.
Yeah, sad. Unfortunately not. And it's just become a dog eats dog situation, if I put it that way, because it's COSON on the one hand and then it's MCSN, Musical Copyright Society of Nigeria, who are now claiming to be the sole, collective management organization licensed by, a court ruling. And then there's that consistent power tussle, and it really doesn't help the creative, especially the music side of the business. And maybe I'm thankful that in my own way, while I'm still in Nigeria working here, my approach would always be from a global perspective, because I work with, a company that would rather just have you, in line with what global perspective is. And the objective is that you now implement those principles, yes, into your business in Nigeria. And we'll continue to do our bit and hope we can.
Well, thank you for all the excellent work that you have been doing, and look forward to many more excellent things you're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah.
Now, for lawyers who are maybe they're younger, or they're currently they're current lawyers at this point in their lives, who are looking to make a career in the TV and film business, what are maybe one or two tips that you would share with them in order to take their careers to the next level, or maybe even get a foot in the door?
Okay, so I think the first thing I would offer in terms of making suggestions is to say, learn. As a professional, you really cannot stop learning, right? Yes, we know that our academic institutions don't really offer, specific courses that tailor to what the industry is, So I want to be an entertainment lawyer, but you really don't have a course in school that is called entertainment law. You still have it as intellectual property law, which is now very, very, very old-fashioned. So the idea for me is to say, while you're taking your standard courses, especially if you're still in university, try to find time to go online and do all the, very short, affordable courses that center around the core business of entertainment, just so that you can learn what the laws are outside of Nigeria. Because again, you have to understand that most of your partners would not even be in Nigeria, right? Nigeria will catch up, and we are catching up. But until then, you need to learn. You need to stay abreast of every single law. You need to know, okay, so I'm currently in school, but I can go to, say, a USC, see if they have any of those free courses that are centered around film business, and learn. And most often than not, we just find that even we in the job just learn. Sometimes you learn as you go. Yes, you've reached what is a zenith of your career and knowledge, but then there are situations that present themselves where you have to learn. So we're just, we are learning, we are growing, and what we're doing is just ensuring that the people that come behind see the work we've put in and maybe bring, their own perspective. But more importantly is that there's a groundwork already laid, and perhaps follow suit.
Yeah. I think, people like you, Foza, all these people that have done amazing work, you've definitely built those blocks.
Yes.
And for people behind is to continue to build on those blocks.
on those blocks, yes. And then just, because thank God for Gen Zs. Anyways, we millennials will say thank God for the Gen Zs, because they are future and they are hope to carry on this torch that we've set. Yeah. So, I'm also happy to really say I have a lot of people trying to connect on LinkedIn, and to be honest too, I'm not really out there. I know that everybody's asking me, you're not really out there. What do you do? How do you do it? I don't even know you. I said, because I'm a very private person. I am very private. I like to do work behind the scenes, but I also find that it's important to come out and talk about these things, and then see that people are interested enough to learn. And eventually I'm considering that I would have a mentorship type of thing, because again, if you're having people that mentor you, the idea is to pay it forward and then get other people to come along the journey. And
And you've just been here, and like I said, I hope that this is like your first,
Yes.
and you go on to other things.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go on to the fun random questions. Are you ready?
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Y'all need to say you're ready, yo. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let me rephrase that. Ready.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So the first question is, if you had to choose one of the following words to describe yourself, which would you choose? Ambitious, optimistic, or confident?
Just one word. Why not three of them?
My dear, you gotta choose one.
Why not all three? Okay. Is there a way to merge all three of them into one word?
Amazing.
So you see the way my mind thinks? Yeah. Ambitious.
Okay. I actually had that feeling that you were going to pick ambitious. I said, you're type A. We connected on that frequency. I was like, this is Okay. I love it. Ambitious. Because obviously, if you're ambitious, you got to be optimistic.
Oh, yes.
You also have to be
First of all,
confident.
yes.
You know, like
Yes.
because you're gonna always probably hear people tell you that your dreams are too big, and you have to just have confidence in
And no, it's not even so. I mean, just before we move on, it's not even just about the people that tell you. It's even you telling yourself.
Yeah.
Hashtag imposter syndrome.
True.
It happens,
Yeah.
and it happens when you're getting to different levels. And the high up you get, the more these things happen. So you have to consistently put yourself in that place where you say, "This is me.
Yeah.
I'm owning my space. I'm confident enough to pursue my dreams. I can afford to be ambitious, and at the same time, be as down to earth as possible." And yeah,
I love it.
life goes on.
I love it. Second question is your favorite TV show right now.
Right now, let me see. I don't watch a lot of TV. I would go and say, I mean, if you had asked me this question
Maybe in the past.
I'd say Game of Thrones automatically.
Okay.
But now it's House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. Okay.
Yes.
That's good. I haven't seen. For Game of. I keep on saying this, and everybody that knows me. Game of Thrones. I've only gotten past season 1. Season 1, episode 1.
I'm going to shoot you.
I see. Game of Thrones.
What?
You can't watch it and be cooking.
Girl.
You have to pay attention.
Yes.
So that's I think it's a fantastic show, but I haven't even gotten to House of Dragons. I'm still on season 1.
Okay.
So I keep on saying I'm going to try. Maybe when I go on vacation, whenever that is.
That is not going to happen.
I know that's not going to happen.
It will not happen.
I know. But just probably have to tie me down. All right, it's fine. So Game of House of Dragons, you said.
Yes.
Third question is, what was the last book you read?
The last book I read was I think if I have to laugh about this, the last book I read was when I was studying for a course I did.
That's fine. That's fine.
It was an online course in the years. I had like tons of studying to do. So that was the last book I read, and it was when I say it was volumes of books. Yes.
Okay, so noted rather. Fourth question is fill in the blank. If I have the chance to, I would like to spend a week with.
If I had the chance to go to Hollywood, I'd like to spend the week with Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, yes.
I wanted to make a joke, but I hope that I'm not going to make that joke. Hopefully, because I don't want Leo. Because what if my path with Leo aligns and he's like, "You made a joke about me that was super mean." So cool.
Make the joke.
No, I can't.
When I see him, I'll say, Leo, it was all done in love.
That's fine. Okay, that's amazing. So Leo.
Yeah.
Final question is your favorite superhero.
I don't believe in superheroes. I'm sorry. I actually don't believe in superheroes. I believe in the heroes that, around us.
Okay, so who are the? Okay, let's do that. Your
course.
favorite. Yeah. Okay, who's
Yes.
that?
My heroes, of course, my parents.
Okay.
Being just, yes, my mom, my dad, and then just my family, because of how supportive they are, just how they, consistently lift me up. Those moments when I'm down. So, I mean, those are my real life heroes.
They are
Yes.
superheroes,
And then, of course, the friends that are just there to help you and, support you through your journey.
Awesome.
Those are my heroes.
That's great. Thank you so much, Angela. Now,
Thank
any
you.
closing words of wisdom before we wrap it up?
Closing nuggets. What do they call it again? Nuggets of wisdom, isn't
Nuggets
it?
of wisdom. Thank you.
Okay, Shadi. I think to just conclude what has been a very interesting conversation.
I'm glad.
Very interesting. I would say that the media business is a very dynamic one. I would say that I'll be speaking to whoever or professionals that probably wanted to get in this space, and then just to whoever is listening and needs to learn more. Or if you think, oh, I have a business, but I'm not sure how to go about it. I want to set up, say, a movie business. I want to go into production, and you don't know how to go about it. Feel free to reach out to lawyers. I mean, this is me now saying I'm available. I would probably share my email.
Yeah, please do that here.
Yes, I probably share my email because I'm always happy to help entrepreneurs, especially media entrepreneurs coming up in this space who really don't have a footing, who don't understand what to do. if you even have a business and you're maybe a small business owner, you're just trying to figure it out, just reach out. And I mean, I'm happy to assist. And of course, I'm also happy to take questions and offer further clarity if need be. So I'll share my email.
What is it?
And then,
do you want to share it here or just privately?
no, I'll share it with you
Good,
privately.
okay,
And then
yeah.
maybe you can, maybe when
If
you,
any, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What about, are you on social media?
Social media.
I
Well,
searched high and low for you. I
no
couldn't
way.
find you. I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm on IG.
Are you serious?
But I post once in a blue moon.
Yeah, what is your once in a blue moon handle?
No, are you serious?
Yeah.
So, but I'm very surprised, Shadi. Don't tell me that.
I'm telling you.
So my IG handle is AA_Anukam, spelled ANUKAM.
Okay.
So I mean, slide into my DMs, ask me the questions, tough questions, corporate questions, entertainment questions, business questions generally. If you need help, of course, if I cannot offer help, I can always redirect you to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where I'll leave it at.
Okay, Angela,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
the
you.
podcast gods. Do you think that they will be happy with this conversation?
In fact, Shadi, you have opened me up.
Hey, I love it, love it, love it, love it.
So I'm very surprised that we even synced.
Yeah.
Because I think if we did not sync,
Yeah.
we would not have this very engaging
That's
conversation. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you made it as seamless, flexible. Yes.
I'm glad.
Podcast gods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Definitely
Angela.
doing this more.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you so much, Angela.
worries.
And of course, you can keep up with the podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the SNC Podcast. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at Shade Nonconform, which is one word. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.